So how do you save a company that's on the absolute brink of collapse? Most people think the answer is to add more. More products. More people. More ideas. More features. But when Steve Jobs returned to Apple in 1997, he did the exact opposite. He saved the company not by adding anything, but by subtracting almost everything. So how did that work? How does removing things turn a dying company into the most valuable business on earth? Let's break down Steve Jobs' strategy of subtraction. In 1997, one number defined Apple: a loss of over $1 billion in a single year. The company wasn't just struggling, it was in a death spiral. And this wasn't because Apple wasn't trying hard enough. The company was incredibly busy. The problem ran deeper. Something fundamental had been lost. Think of it like a radio station. Apple's core identity, its signal, was still there. But it was buried under so much static, so much noise, that no one could hear it anymore. Jobs' insight was simple but dangerous. He didn't need to build a new station. He just needed to kill the noise. So what did that noise actually look like? Let's rewind to Apple in 1996. The company was drowning in its own activity. It made printers, scanners, cameras, and even the Newton PDA. There were projects everywhere. Even the Mac, Apple's core product, was a mess. Performas, Quadras, models piled on models. Customers couldn't tell them apart. Engineers were stretched thin. Marketing couldn't explain what mattered. This wasn't a lack of effort. It was an excess of it. Apple wasn't unproductive because it was lazy. It was unproductive because it was distracted. So Jobs didn't arrive with a flashy turnaround plan or a 100-day roadmap. He arrived with a philosophy. And it revolved around one of the hardest words in business: no. Jobs' thinking came straight from engineering and physics: the signal-to-noise ratio. If you want a clearer signal, you don't always shout louder. Sometimes the smartest move is to create silence. Jobs believed focus wasn't about what you choose to do. It was about what you refuse to do. And here's the key. Saying no to bad ideas is easy. Anyone can do that. Jobs' real superpower was saying no to good ideas. He killed projects with talented teams and promising technology, like OpenDoc, because he knew even good ideas become noise if they pull attention away from something truly great. But philosophy alone doesn't save a company. To make subtraction real, Jobs needed systems, tools, structure, and it started with a simple shape. Not a spreadsheet, not a slide deck, just a whiteboard and some basic geometry. Jobs drew a grid: 2 columns, consumer and pro, 2 rows, desktop and portable. Then he said, this is it. 4 boxes, 4 products, 1 great computer in each box. Everything else was canceled. That single moment changed everything. The supply chain simplified overnight. Costs dropped. Marketing finally had a clear story. But most importantly, engineers were freed. Instead of being spread across dozens of projects, they could go deep, obsess over details, build something great. To eliminate even more organizational noise, Jobs introduced another weapon: the DRI, the directly responsible individual. Before this, responsibility was vague. If something broke, you'd hear, the team is on it, which usually meant no one was on it. The DRI changed that. Every task had one name, one owner. If something failed, there was no confusion. This wasn't about blame, it was about clarity. And clarity kills noise. But Jobs knew the most dangerous noise didn't come from products or process. It came from people. He had a blunt name for the threat: the bozo explosion. The idea was simple. Mediocrity spreads. A players love being challenged, so they hire other A players. B players feel threatened by excellence, so they hire C players to feel safe. Once that starts, performance collapses fast. Jobs was obsessed with stopping that first B player from getting in. He believed something radical: an empty seat is better than the wrong hire. Most companies panic when a role is unfilled. Jobs panicked when it was filled badly. This reframes his famous, and often controversial, directness. His so-called brutal honesty wasn't about being cruel. It was another noise reduction tool. Jobs believed excessive politeness blurred the truth. It softened feedback. It hid whether the work was actually good. He wanted feedback to be sharp, immediate, and honest, because that's how you protect the signal. All of this came together in what might be the ultimate ritual of subtraction: the annual Top 100 retreat. Picture it: the 100 most important people at Apple in a room. Days of debate, arguments, hard decisions. They finally produce a ranked list of the company's top 10 priorities. Then Jobs walks to the whiteboard, looks at the list everyone just fought for, and slashes the bottom 7. Gone. The message was always the same: we can only do 3. That moment made focus real, public, undeniable. So what's the lesson here? Steve Jobs didn't save Apple by doing more. He saved it by doing less, but doing it better. Most companies live in noise. They ask, what should we add? What should we start? What else can we build? Jobs flipped the question. What should we stop doing? He removed friction. He cut distractions. He believed an empty chair beat a mediocre hire every time. And here's the core truth. Focus isn't passive. It's an active, courageous act of subtraction. It's easy to say yes. It's safe to add one more thing. Real focus takes courage. The courage to say no. And the result of that courage? $1 trillion. Apple became the world's first trillion-dollar company. Not through a miracle of addition, but a miracle of subtraction. It all comes back to one guiding principle. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And when you hear that, you realize Jobs wasn't just talking about product design. He was talking about designing an entire company. He proved that when you conquer complexity, when you remove everything that isn't essential, you create something extraordinary. So here's the question. In a world that constantly demands more from our jobs, more from our time, more from our lives, what noise can you subtract to finally hear your signal? Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe for future videos. As always, stay human, stay curious, and I will see you on the next adventure.